All right, welcome in a Friday edition here, Philly Voice Sports Bets. We appreciate you rolling with us on the Philly Voice YouTube page. If you haven't already, if you're just hanging with us, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe here as well, as we have a lot to look at here, Harry. Cherico.
We are packed, as Colin Cowherd would say.
Is that what he says? I wouldn't know.
And we are packed.
Jesus, man.
I'm just trying to figure out what's on the television behind you.
Oh, it's probably something. We're probably going to get nailed now on YouTube for this. So
it's like an animation sensation, I think, right?
No, it's Paw Patrol.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Classic.
The kids running around going crazy here.
Right.
You know, my wife's not home yet. I probably have chicken still in my teeth. This is crazy from today. So.
But we're gonna have Cherico give a couple picks today. Did you know that, Eitan? The NBA is his forte. I just found out.
Not Joe Forte.
No.
Not Matt Forte.
Forte from the Bears back in the day, right?
Well, come on. Joe Forte is a deeper cut. Do you remember him?
No.
UNC guard basketball? Google him.
Okay, I will.
Jeez. I'm giving you gems here.
Phillies are up against the wall here, guys.
Not John Wall. All right, yeah.
Let's looking
keep
good.
Well, here's what I did, okay? I took $50. And late last night, I had a guy who's much smarter than me that I work with over at OddsShopper put out a play on his Discord that says, look, it's at plus 1,100 right now. It's probably going to be better if you wait. And I woke up and saw it was not better. It was actually worse. So I only got in at plus 1,000, but I put a $50 free bet that I had sticking around for my missed same game parlay from Thursday Night Football, fellas, on Framber Valdez to win the World Series MVP. Because if he starts cooking on game 6, that's it.
Yeah, this is it.
Let the birds out.
I agree. And I just I didn't see a prop on the strikeouts on DraftKings, but Cherico found one on FanDuel for Framber Valdez at 6.5 at plus money. You can't set it high enough to me with this guy, the way he's pitching and the way he's pitched against the Phillies. The Phillies, not only in the World Series, but in the final series of the regular season, he had 10 Ks against the Phils in October 5th. He had 9 in game 2. So give me the over at plus money for Framber Valdez.
Odds are moving up, too, in your favor. They moved from 106 to plus 108 now, so you're getting even more bang for your buck. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that people, honestly, think about this. It went from a favorite to now a serious dog, right? Mm-hmm. So people slammed the other side. Somebody slammed the other side.
Somebody did.
Right. Yeah. Somebody. And look, I don't know if it's just because, think about it. Right now, the Phillies have all the value from a game side. So a lot of that could factor in. It's similar to like a first half play, first quarter play, player props, right? If one side of a game keeps getting slammed, there's going to be a trickle down effect, I think, to it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe people jumped on the Phillies simply because they're dogs right now. There's value to that ticket.
Right. They're plus 130 for the game.
Right.
I'm going to make a homer play on there just for the sake of it because they're up against the wall and I want to see them win.
Doesn't that counter to what you're doing here with Valdez?
I know. It does. It doesn't make any sense. None of my stuff sometimes does.
We're both all of us are invested in Valdez, so don't screw it up. All right.
No, but what I'm saying here is does this mean that people are thinking that the umpire is going to catch him with some substance on his glove? Because remember the video that was rolling out after game 2 of him touching this and then him wiping his hands as he's walking off the mound on his pants? I mean, is there something there to that?
No. And the reason is because Rob Thompson addressed that after the game and said that they saw him before, as you mentioned, the 10 Ks. Mm-hmm. So this guy K'd that team 10 times. It was rubbing his palm, his ear. He was rubbing his junk. He was rubbing anything he could. They were checking him like the TSA, Harry. All right? Like, this was a strip search after
every time. Did they do a pat down?
I'm telling you, it was invasive. Full-on body cavity search. Right, so... Look, the bat situation is shady, is all shady shit. Leading into a pitch is just bad baseball.
Oh, yeah.
But this whole thing about Valdez being dirty, like, I don't buy it. Personally, I don't buy it.
He is filthy, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a difference.
Yes.
There is an absolute difference. All right. So that's all. Look, I think right now, honestly, I'm going to look at the game on Saturday. I'll probably take a long look at the over simply because I think one of these two guys, it's probably going to be Wheeler, who's hurt, stands a chance of cracking. So I might look at that. It's plus money right now, so I may wait until the over first half comes up. But honestly, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be financially invested in this Framber Valdez ticket and treat that as like my play on game 6 because it's all or nothing for Valdez right now. So much like your K prop, I just look at it like a future ticket.
I like the MVP because you're right. If he rolls up 9-10 Ks and goes 6 innings or whatever tonight or tomorrow night and the Astros win, he is the MVP to me.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you have everybody on the Astros offense kind of doing the same thing. They only show up once in a while. There's really hasn't been that guy. They expect it to be, Yordan Alvarez or Kyle Tucker to take over and really put the series in their hands. But nobody on that offense has really stepped up and made it their game. So I definitely understand Valdez coming in for
They've gotten contributions from different guys on different nights. Pena was big. Bregman is always good for a clutch hit with guys on base. But there hasn't been one guy that has sort of carried the offense.
Pena has been big all series. And I mean, look, this guy here has got the best and he does. And he's got the best chance of knocking Valdez. And that's why Valdez was 1,100, 1,000 this morning. So it's Friday when we're taping this, depending on when you're watching this. Look at where he is. Again, I got him on FanDuel, so he might be a better option. All right. Thursday night football. I don't have much here, to be honest with you. There were a couple of things that we played on the show that we talked about. The rushing yards, Sanders hit. Jalen Hurts did not. It just was, get me the fuck out of that game, honestly.
I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch it 1 second because I was so invested in the World Series game, and I just kept checking the score, and I saw Houston went up 7-0, then it was 7-7. Might have been a good opportunity maybe to jump in with the Eagles when they were down 7-0, but I'm surprised that they gave up 17 points to this team, to be honest with you.
Would have been more, Harry, real quick. I know you didn't see it, but it would have been more. Matt, I'm sure you had eyes on it. But that Davis Mills interception killed that momentum.
A lot of momentum.
That's a field goal. And I had an over 5.5 points for the kicker there, and I needed one more. Because he ended with 5, right?
Yeah.
But that drive killed the under. Yep. That drive killed a lot, and it killed, I think, any more points. The Texans would have scored at least 20, if not more points based off that pick.
I mean, that could be something a little bit to keep an eye on, here going to the second half of the season. You give up 17, and it should have been more, according to you guys, to the Texans. That's going to get my attention. But Elliott missed a field goal, too, or they would have covered the number, the 13.5. So
right. Well, it's I mean, look, that's another thing, too. We'll talk about this week because there are 2 big spreads. One of them, of course, Buffalo and New York in division. But we saw this last week with Buffalo, again, losing interest. Like, it's hard, man. It's just because it's the NFL and you've got one shot a week doesn't mean that you don't give up runs and you don't let teams back in there. And that was the danger, I think, of just covering this spread as a whole. Look, Dameon Pierce, he took advantage of a defense that played probably too much against Pittsburgh. I don't know. I can't extrapolate a ton because it's good or bad, right? Like if you want to focus on all the good, then you have to focus on the bad, which is Dameon Pierce carved him up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did see a trend after Wednesday's show that road teams that are favored by 13 points or more are 3-10 in the last 13 times against the number.
I have no problem, but I mean, think about this. This is the Eagles are a good football team. This is a loss for I'd say about 75% of the NFL, and that same situation, winning record, maybe not undefeated, but that's probably what separates the Eagles right now.
But you brought up Jalen Hurts not hitting his rushing over. I look at that from a football perspective as a good sign for this football team, in that Jalen Hurts is not bailing and just utilizing his legs near as much as he was in the past. He's sort of starting to come out of that. Jimmy Kempski from Philly Voice put up a graphic on Twitter today that details, what he's been doing, and he's relying less and less on the legs and becoming more of an arm, first quarterback, which is good.
That doesn't work though. Like you won't find guys like it works if you're already okay. So I'll give you my reasoning why. I'm not disagreeing with you at the last point, which is it's good. I just don't think it works when you transition guys. Meaning, you can't have Arnold Schwarzenegger sell me a Bowflex and tell me I'm going to look carved up, right? Like it has to be somebody that looks like me that went through a before and after. So I think what happens is you see a lot where it's like they try to turn guys at Kyler Murray, like Lamar Jackson. We saw it with Donovan McNabb. And it's not just that. Like, Josh Allen is a perfect example where he has become now even more going back to his feet. Like at one point it was all arm. So that's my biggest concern about Jalen Hurts, Harry, is that you may not be going up against the Texans, the Steelers, the Colts every season, and you're going to have to make some you're going to have to make some plays with your legs. I don't want it ingrained in his head that he can't. So I don't disagree with you. I didn't mean it to sound like I was disagreeing.
I get that, especially when you utilize the McNabb example from the past. But I just think I look at it as his development as a quarterback. That's how I read it. So
good.
I still feel that like once he gets that initial pressure, and if they're collapsing the pocket on him, especially against a better team than the Texans defensively, that he'll kind of go back to that instinct and scramble a little bit more than we saw last night.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. I think you guys are right, where it's definitely a representation of development. I think for me going into that game last night, where I was surprised was that and look, I get it. I'm about to say that they put Jalen Hurts in unnecessary harm's way by dropping him back 27 times, and they should have run him more in RPOs, which is contact. I get all that. But at the same time, it's controlled contact versus dropping back. The reality is that the only issue I would have with Thursday Night Football, and yeah, this does correlate with a couple of my bets not hitting, so take that for what it's worth, but you should have ran the ball even more than you did. And it's not even so much with Sanders, but with Gainwell, with Boston Scott, with Jalen Hurts as well. That's what I was expecting, because here's the thing, guys. It's not even so much like you'd put 40 points up on the board and you blow a team out, but you're keeping Dameon Pierce off the field. And the reason why I even say that is because he was making it so much more difficult for that defense. That's all. I don't want to nitpick. You guys can have at it.
Dameon Pierce, Offensive Rookie of the Year, plus 330. What do you think?
Who's ahead of him?
Kenneth Walker, maybe?
I think he's Kenneth Walker the third is the favorite for Seattle.
That's going to be close. It's going to be really close because Walker and Seattle, they're producing wins. And so I feel like that could really be what sways people, because they love seeing that record and like, oh, Geno Smith, he's winning them games, and they got the rookie running back. So I don't know. That could be my only concern about that.
Let me ask you that, though, to your point, and then back to Harry's ticket here. I have that Carroll ticket, Coach of the Year. Let's just say Pete Carroll cashes, right? Let's say Pete Carroll is Coach of the Year.
Right.
Do you think that helps or hurts somebody like Kenneth Walker?
I feel like it could only help. And I feel like also with Tariq Woolen on the other side for defensive rookie.
Harry brought him up yesterday.
Yeah, I brought that up on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think
this Seattle team, my goodness.
They got foundation.
What is happening up there in the Pacific Northwest?
Let's look. All right, it's Friday, so we're going to jam up as much football as humanly possible, and then a couple of NBA plays before we get out of here. I'm with you, Cherico. I was looking at the big board. It's a huge night. Harry's on one team as well we'll talk about. And before I forget, because I will forget, I slammed them already at plus 290 in the 90-minute, meaning it can't go to overtime. But I have the Union winning this game. So I'll take them. And I just wanted to bump that one more time. All right, let's hit college first. We'll jam in the NFL as well here. I'll just start off. And Harry, I know you want to take it after that. The big thing for me was jumping in early at the Purdue.
Purdue, Iowa.
Everybody loves, and it's like, oh, now is the time. Now is the time for Iowa. No, not until he fires his son will it be the time. And
there's never a time for Iowa.
No. And you know what? It's not even firing his son. He would have to fire his son into the sun in order for it to be the time. Like, get his ass the hell out of here. So I'm locked in. I got Purdue minus 3.5. And I think I'll credit you, I believe, for this, but Temple plus 146.
Yeah,
Did
the
you
money
bring them
line.
up?
Yeah, yes, on Wednesday.
I just added a couple of purchase orders here to the ticket. We're just added here. Oregon State money line tonight, giving me outright. I love them tonight outright against Wash. And then also the three that I jumped on were Baylor plus 3.5, Memphis plus 3.5, and I am all over. Oh my God, am I all over Georgia, who screams right now. Their UT is 0-5 straight up against the spread versus 7 in a row greater opponents. Georgia's defense is 10 points and 131 yards per game better than the Vols D. Georgia's number 1 in red zone O, number 2 in red zone D, 3rd in pass defense efficiency, 4th in time possession. UT is like 124. And last but not least, our friend Kirby Smart is 8-0 straight up as a favorite of 20 or less versus undefeated teams.
Wow.
It's already moved in Georgia's favor.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got it at 11.5 on the weekend. And
no
it's down
problem
to,
there.
What is it down? 8?
8.
Yeah,
8.
yeah,
And now is the time
Yeah.
before somebody wakes up and realizes what's happened. Jump on Georgia.
Tennessee doesn't care about time of possession. It's like a Chip Kelly approach to offense. They want to score and score fast.
But when they don't score, we saw what happened
then the
with
defense
Chip.
gets worn out.
Exactly right. All right, so this is good. So we actually have a pretty decent middle here of 9, 10, and 11, right?
Yes, those are some key numbers. I can't wait to watch that game. I like the Temple plus 145. Obviously, I also took them with the points. It was 3.5. It's a bad game. I'm not going to watch it. I just bet it and forget it. LSU plus 13.5. I wanted to see. I have it, and I want to see if you agree with any. LSU at home against Alabama. We all know the history here.
Yep.
It's. I'm choosing to look at LSU as kind of turning a corner last week with Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly he's a tough nut, and I think it takes a while for these players to really become acclimated to his toxicity, if you will. And I think they might be buying in to Mr. Redface at this point. I expect a good effort on Saturday night under the lights in Death Valley just to keep it within 2 touchdowns.
So it's 13.5, correct?
Yeah, that's what I have it at.
Yeah, that's not terrible there. I wonder, is this a where is this game get covered? Is this a first half, like they're just up and Alabama chips away? Is it the opposite, backdoor, or do you see it kind of going back and forth?
I could see it going back and forth or a backdoor.
Yeah.
I
wonder if you could create, like, what would be halftime? It would have to be a spread, but I'm going to take a look at, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to look at what a halftime, full-time spread money line would be, meaning that LSU covers the first half spread but loses the game outright. Or maybe it's the other. Yeah.
Okay. I see where you're going.
Because I don't know. This is intriguing. I don't have this
parlay. Can you parlay that?
They have, so it's a halftime, full-time bet, right? It's a soccer. It's basically a soccer bet that has been put in there. So you can just bet who's up at the half and who's up at the end of the game. And a lot of times what they'll let you do is instead of win-win, like money line, they'll let you do a spread.
Do some spread and then a money line. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Or just spread. Right.
That's pretty cool.
All right, Cherokee, you got any college here?
Yeah, I was actually looking at Clemson against Notre Dame, and I got Clemson covering the 3.5. I really am not that impressed. I know Notre Dame's sitting at 5-3, but after that loss to Marshall, I just really don't think that they're going to be able to compete with the level of Clemson right now. And after the 2020 loss, I don't know if you guys saw, but CJ's quote on that the other day was just saying that Clemson didn't forget about that loss to Notre Dame in 2020, and they're coming back for all of that and then some. So I think 3.5 is honestly very favorable towards the Irish, and I think Clemson's going to be able to cover that pretty easily.
I don't like either of these teams offensively, so I went on the under 44.5 in the game. But I will say Notre Dame's offensive line really impressed me last week. They got an offensive line that can hang. I think with Clemson, they played their best football game with this new football coach. So it's interesting how things can change quickly in college. Especially when you get new coaches like Brian Kelly, like the guy at Notre Dame. It's like at some point in the season, the guys get it, and all of a sudden they look like a different football team than they did in September.
No, it's very true, man. I'm gonna leave you with one more. You guys can clean it up if there's anything else before we hit the NBA or the NFL. Pardon me, but heavy wins are expected. This is going to be a theme. We're going to come back to this in the NFL. Heavy wins are expected at Indiana. Ridiculous. 20+ mile-per-hour winds. There is just no way that the Hoosiers are going to be able to throw. And we know that Penn State is more than happy taking a 17-3 victory.
Yes.
Packing up and getting out of here.
And just running the football. Yeah.
Unibet has it right now at 50. I think everywhere else is 49.5. I jumped on 50. It's actually minus 102 under 50. So I'm under 50 in that Penn State Indiana game.
A Bloomington, Indiana meteorologist report. I love it.
That's what we're here for. All right. Can you tell us what are you seeing in the sky? All right, so let's keep it going here. NFL. Let me start off right away. The Washington Commanders +3 here. Love this team. You do as well. You have them at 3 or 3.5?
No, it's 3. I got it at 3. Yeah.
Yeah. This is you mentioned this ahead of time. This is my favorite bet. Look, everybody's going to focus on Taylor Heineke. 9-9 now as a starter, which is actually better than or at least as good as about half of the NFL starting quarterbacks.
He's an improvement over Carson Wentz.
Yeah, he is.
I'll tell you that.
Ron Rivera, though, made this improvement before that Bears game on the secondary. He benched a couple of guys. They had that huge defensive stand against Chicago, and that has just jettisoned them into stardom now. So it's also, look at this, Harry, because I know this came across your radar. It's also Kirk Cousins' first time back in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that is a prime time angle.
Yeah.
That is, and we know basically prime time angle is it magnifies the game. So it could be at tucked away at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's magnified for the player. And then you look at how that player does in prime time. Give me Washington. I believe it's his first time ever. It's at the very least, it's his first time back as a member of Minnesota, but I believe it's his first time back as a non-member of Washington's football team.
That's a great angle. And the Washington Commanders got a little boost this week emotionally. Chase Young returned to practice for the first time since the ACL injury. So, he's not going to probably play. He's not going to play, but I think this team is rejuvenated defensively.
Are you giving me the win-win for the Gipper angle
here? I'll take it. I will take it. And also, they know that Dan Snyder is selling the football team. So, that place is going to be jumping this weekend.
All right, let's do this here, all right? Because we have a couple of minutes, although I'm sure none of you guys have. Harry has to golf. So I just gave one. Harry, we'll go rapid fire. We'll go around a couple of times because I'm sure each one of us has more than one play. So we'll go rapid fire. I just gave one Harry, then Matt, then me, and then Harry, then Matt, then me, and then Harry, then Matt. Then we'll get out of here with NBA, right?
All right. NFL. I'm going with the Bears against the Dolphins at home, getting 4. It was 5. I didn't get the value with 5. It's down to 4. But the Dogs in this head-to-head matchup are 6-1 in the last 7 times they've faced one another. And I think you talk about some rejuvenation. I know they traded away 2 key components on their defense, but this team, I think, offensively has seen a little bit of a rebirth. They pick up Claypool. I think they can hang with the Dolphins on the road.
All right, real quick, Matt, before you go. At home, yeah. So there's a really good angle here, and I'm going to give you the exact number because you won't even believe it. And then you start to realize, okay, it's not even the number, it's not even the snow or anything like that. But since 2014, the under is 45, 24, and 1 when you start to look at November, December, and January for Chicago. Because of what? The wind.
Right, the wind. And that's a slow field. It's traditionally a slow track there.
You think that there's any coincidence that Jim McMahon said quarterbacks go to die in Chicago? What, because of coaching? No, because it's god-awful. The conditions are brutal. That's why Minnesota has a dome. Could you imagine playing outside? No, it's insane. So I just to tag on that, I think you should slam the I have no problem with your play in Chicago, but I think you should, this is not a play. I just think you should slam.
Was it 44?
It's 45. Last I checked, I got in at 45.5.
Okay, 45.5. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Slam that.
I like that.
All right. I was looking at for plus money. I'm liking the Detroit Lions at home against the Packers. And honestly, I've been on this narrative all season. This is the year for me that Aaron Rodgers and the Packers fall off heavily. We're seeing it obviously through the first 8 weeks, and I think the Lions play their best ball at home. That's really only when we see Jared Goff in his element. When he goes on the road, he really just is scattered. He's all over the place. He throws interceptions. So I think he's going to be recollected at home, and I like them for plus 164 against the Packers. I think that the secondary of Green Bay isn't going to be able to handle St. Brown or DeAndre Swift.
Wow, can you imagine if the Packers do lose that game outright? I mean, this might be it. They just might. Aaron Rodgers might just quit.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to argue with anything you said, my friend, and I'll swing it right back to me. here's the thing. At 3.5, you have to pass unless you take Detroit. Like, you cannot play Green Bay at 3.5 simply because we've seen way too many games finish at 3 this year alone, and because the Packers are awful. They can't be trusted. But you start to look at something here. Campbell is 4-19-1 straight up, and the Packers have hung 30+ in 4 straight versus Detroit. So I bought this down at -3. And you know what? I went back and forth over the last 2 days on whether or not I wanted to cash out the ticket. I still might cash out the ticket, to be honest with you. Like, this is a rough one here.
Swift only had 6 yards last week against the Dolphins in 5 carries. I just can't trust Detroit. They find ways to screw up, sure victory. So I'm going to pass on this game. But yeah.
Honestly, I think without TJ Hawkinson, they're going to find a little more of they're going to settle in a little bit more. I feel like he's been there, but they've had these young guys who they kind of want to give the keys. But being that he's seasoned, he's a veteran, and obviously he's incredibly talented, they've had no choice but to give him the reps he's kind of earned there. So I don't know. I think they might settle in here.
It's not bad. No, I'm with you. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard to argue. All right, last one in the NFL that I want to get out here specifically would be the Rams. +3. I don't think it's moving to 3.5, so I don't have any problem jumping in here 3. It's not moving through 3. Teams with losing records of 2 or more games, but are not 0-2, meaning deeper into the season. So teams with losing records of 2 or more games are 4-13-1 against the spread before traveling overseas.
Wow.
Why? Because it changes your routine exponentially. You have to pack bags. You have to deal with your significant other. You have to deal with the kid, the au pair for the au pair. You got to deal with all this shit. Oh, and by the way, your team sucks, right? So it's hard. It's really hard. And Sean McVay's 3-0 straight up against the spread versus Tampa last 2 years. The Bucs don't run. Like, how can you bet on a team in the NFL that doesn't run? I'll take the Rams.
All right, real quick. I'm taking the Ravens over the Saints on the road, laying 2.5 points. Here's a great trend for you, Eitan. The Ravens have Pittsburgh next, right? They are 23-5 against the number in the last 28 times they've played in the week before playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give me the Ravens.
I love that, man.
Roquan Smith might have 15 tackles.
Real quick, I know we got to get out of here and all, but there's an awesome – this game is loaded. Like, this game would be loaded with reasons of why you should take Baltimore. Right away, I jumped in Baltimore -3. I saw it move to -2.5, and I got a little nervous. And then I started looking at stuff. So, Matt, you can take us home here with any NFL and then NBA. Or NBA, pardon me, on the way out. But let me just hit you over the head. Yeah. With all of these different angles here, if I can real quick, because Baltimore has multiple advantages. All right, so first off, this is the first time that New Orleans, Dennis Allen, is facing Greg Roman's offense, right? This offense with Lamar Jackson at the quarterback, because teams, the first time they face Greg Roman's offense, right, are 9-16-2 against the spread and 2-25 straight up. Roman ran the same offense with Kaepernick in San Francisco. They went 22-7-2 against the spread versus teams they played for the first time, 18-21-2 ATS the second time, and more. So they have this advantage the first time. And between that and this one, so basically if you look at Roman in San Fran with Cap, and then Roman in Baltimore with Lamar, you're talking about a combined record of 38-16-4 against the spread when facing teams on the first time. How about this? Damn. Andy Dalton is 0-4 straight up, 1-3 against the spread versus Lamar Jackson's Ravens. And finally, Harry Mays, because I ain't done yet, Dennis Allen is 10-30 straight up, 14-25-1 against the spread as a favorite or as an underdog of 10 or less points. Wow. That's it. Meaning he's not likely to win or cover a spread if he's not getting at least 11 points.
Jeez. I love it.
Give me the Ravens. Like, who the freak is betting on New Orleans? Give me the Ravens. Sorry. I'm with you on this one. This is my favorite play of the
Is this a 5-star play?
Give me it. I'll put my baby on it.
Are you going to give the people the rest of the year for free if this doesn't hit?
Teddy, I'll bet my baby on this. Come on.
All right, NBA. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Jericho.
I was looking tonight. I'm a big fan of the player performance doubles on FanDuel, and one of them I was looking at was Luka Doncic double-double and a win tonight up against the Toronto Raptors. There has only been one game in which he hasn't gotten a double-double this season, and he's doing literally all of it. This comes in at plus 142, so I really like the value of it, especially at home. Toronto potentially missing Fred VanVleet, so I'm looking to hop on that before that gets announced. Even if he does play, I think Luka he takes over. And obviously he's the key proponent of that offense. And I think they're going to handle business down there in Dallas. And then I also really like tonight the Warriors going up against the Pelicans. I know the stigma around the Warriors is kind of unsettled. There's a lot of unturned stones over there. They're seeing a little bit of frustration now with James Wiseman in the rotation and all of that. But it's inevitable that they figure it out, right? And Steph Curry has dropped 35 plus 4 out of his past 5 games, and 4 of those have been losses. So I think it really is inevitable that they get the ball rolling. And going up against the Pelicans, I know the Pelicans are a little defensive minded, but I think this is a game where the veterans for Golden State really buckle in and take over and finally get them a W. Well needed.
I actually went over on Odd Shopper. I actually went over their team total. So I think that'll correlate nicely with what you're doing too, because I like them bouncing. But that's a bad loss to Orlando. So I'm with you, man.
Yeah. And I think you had said,
Awesome.
there's never, must-win games this early in the NBA season.
No.
But, this kind of feels like the Warriors need to figure it out, especially, the Pelicans are up and coming. So you want to stick it to these young guys before they get any momentum, especially in the West.
All right, James Harden, obviously, news came out yesterday. He's down for a month at least with a foot injury. First game without Harden is tonight against the New York Knickerbockers. And the Sixers, I got in at minus 2.5 simply on the backup goalie theory. I just checked on DraftKings. It's up to 3 now. So somebody's with me on this. Eitan, you brought up the total. The total has now moved down to 219.5. I will still take the under on that.
It's not terrible. You are taking some of the worst of it. You recognize, as long as you understand that.
Yes.
But no, I'm with you. This might be where 212.5 is where I might draw the line. In fact, it might be worth right now playing an alternate total. Not that you're going to gain much leverage with it. All right. So we'll see how we do. We'll recap the weekend here when we get back on Monday. We appreciate you all rolling with us. Have a great rest of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go Phillies.
Yeah, and
Go
Valdez.
Union. Go Union.